Hi, I'm Sule. Welcome to my channel. In this tutorial, I'm gonna walk you through a step-by-step guide on how to create a cute and simple Pomodoro style React app. And we're then gonna wrap it with an Electron JS wrapper so we can use it as a desktop app. And if you're new to all of this, don't worry about it because I'm gonna help you through this nice and slow and easy. And if you have any questions, feel free to put them in the comment section and I'll try to get through them as much as I can. So without further ado, let's go have some fun. Okay, first let's take a look at what our final product looks like. So we have two buttons, work and break. Work has a default value of 25 minutes and break is 5 minutes. And we have one button that either starts or reset the timers. First of all, before we begin coding, we need to have Node.js set up in your computer so that we can use React. And if you haven't already, this is the website where you would download whichever version is compatible for you. And then we're going to be using Visual Studio Code, VS Code for IDE, and we'll need a shell to run some. Once we have that set up, we're going to create a React app, and you can use whichever name you like. And we're going to be using TypeScript with React. So the command would be npx create React app and write fasta, which is the title of the app name that you like, the project name that you like. You can change that later. And we'll be using React and TypeScript. This will take a few minutes for it to load. Next, let's go into the folder into using cd work faster. Then we're gonna install Electron using npm install savedev electron. Then we would also need Electron builder, which we need it to package and distribute the app. So that would be npm install savedev electron builder. Okay, once we all have that installed, we run npm start to see if the app is up and running. And this is what you should see when you go into localhost 3000. Great, now let's open our app in VS Code. We're now going to connect Electron and React. So first we go to package.json and we add the line homepage and a dot meaning the current folder. Next, we're going to add Electron to the script. And we say Electron in the public folder because the next thing we're going to do is create electron.js file in the public folder. In our Electron.js file, we want to first start with importing our app and browser window from Electron. Then we also want URL and paths because we need them to specify where our data that we want to fetch into our window is from. In our case, that would be from React. So our main function, create main window, make use of our browser window. Then we specify our title, work faster, then width and height. Then our start URL, we want to specify to our directory, which will be in the build folder after we have run npm run build, after we're done with everything. Then we'll have our protocol as file, and this file name is index.html. Then we're gonna load our URL from the start URL that we have specified. So it has to connect to the React app, and this one is to load app in Electron window. And when we're ready, we're gonna create this main window. Okay, let's see if it works. We run npm run build. It's gonna take a few seconds. Then we run npm run Electron, and ta-da, we have our little app that's up and running. Let's go into our source folder and into our app file. We're gonna remove whatever we have right now and start from scratch. First, we're gonna have like a button at the very top right corner. Then we have two buttons, work and break. As you can see, we're gonna type our CSS class names as we go along, so it's easier to get back to them later. We're seeing this like black error thing because we need to have like a div tag wrapper that wraps everything inside, and that's one of the syntax of React. Next, we're gonna have a paragraph that has our motivational speech, like you can do it, keep going and stuff. And we'd also have a timer text, and we're only gonna have it as static for now, and we're gonna come back to that later. In the very end, we have our home button, which is the start and stop button. So now that we run it, we're gonna have our very basic layout. Great, let's start with our timer functionality. We need to have constant to store the time that's remaining, and we'll have to use useState and useEffect from React. So now we're gonna import that. And next we need a variable that stores, we need a constant that stores whether it's running or not. In the very initial state would be false. Using useEffect, we want to see if the timer is running and the time left is less than 0, is greater than 0. Then we would update the timer by subtracting 1 from it. Basically, we're gonna reduce it by every second. That's why we have 1000 there, meaning it's 1000 milliseconds, meaning 1 second. Then we're gonna return clear interval timer. Next, we're gonna write our function. Format time, because we need to format the time to have 2 digits for 0 for seconds and 2 digits for minutes. Now we're gonna write a handle click function. So when we click the start button, if it's not running, we're gonna start the timer. So we're gonna set it's running to true, and if we click it again, we're gonna set it to false. And we'll also have to reset the value of time left to 25 minutes. Now that we have our functions, we're gonna have to update our HTML, which be on click, we're gonna say handle click, and then we're gonna have our format time instead of the static time value we had before. And we need to make sure that it's tilde and not a single quote. Nice, so now it's running. Now we have to work on setting timer for the break. So we need our new constant as break, and it will be force initially. Then we'll have to update our handle click function. Then its break would be 5 minutes. It would need another function for switching modes. This function will be for our work and break buttons. We'll set its break depending on whether it's break or not, and we'll stop the timer when the button is clicked, and we'll reset the time left depending on whether it's break or work that is clicked. Next we have to go back to our text, the work and break button, and we'll now be adding our function on click. For work, switch mode would initially be false, and do the same for break, and that would be true. Now it's running like we intend to. We're gonna work on our encouragement text. So we would have to create a new state constant, and initially we just want it to be empty. Then this is what I have for a preset for work messages and break messages. I'm gonna quickly format my file, and we're now gonna have a new use effect thing for encouragement message updates. So we'll add the message interval to Node.js timeout. Then if it's running, we want to make the message to be either a break messages or GM messages depending on which mode we're on. Then we'll set the message with the first one on the list first. And then we're gonna write it so that every 4 seconds we're gonna switch it to the next one on the list. (4,000 milliseconds, that's 4 seconds. Nice. If it's not running, we just want to set it to empty. And we just return a clear interval with message interval. And this use effect will work if there are changes in its running or its break. Okay, so we now just have to make adjustment to our paragraph tag, and we just have our class name dependent on whether it's running or not. So that if it's running, we want it to show, and if it's not, then we want it hidden. Okay, now it works. It changes every 4 seconds for both work and break. It's now the fun part. We're gonna create an assets folder under the source folder, and we're gonna import all of our pretty pixel pics here. Nice. And now we have to import them in our app.typescript file. And one thing is I want to add a mp3 meow when the timer ends, but TypeScript doesn't recognize it. That's why we're having this error. So we have to create this custom .typescript file. And then we have to just start syncing our CSS. So this is my preset CSS, just copied and paste. You can grab that from my GitHub, and the link should be in the description. And now we begin with our container class. So what we want to do is, if the timer is running, I want the background to switch to the green background. And initially it would just be blue, which I have specified in the CSS file. Okay, now we work on our close button, and we change our class name to close button, and then we insert the picture, and there should be the tiny, like the close cross button on the top right. Now we want to work on our two buttons, the break and the work button, but we want to change the image depending on whether it's pressed or not. And we're inserting our image depending on what we have specified before. We'll write the function later. When we'll have to do that in switch mode. Okay, so we have to set the break button image depending on whether it's a break mode or not. And if it is, then we want to change the break button to be clicked. And for work button, if it's break mode, we don't want it to be clicked. Oh, I had it wrong. So it should be work button and work button clicked. Okay, so our issue here is we want the work button to be clicked in the very beginning. So we have to use effect to make sure that when the app first loaded, we want work button to be clicked. Now it works. Now let's add some GIFs to make it prettier. So what we want is, if the timer is not running, we want it to be idle. And if it's running and in different modes, we want it to be different. So we're gonna have to use a constant to store which GIF we want to play. So initially we just want it to be idle, which is these two little cute orange and black cat couple. Next up, we have to make sure when any modes are switched, we want it to be idle, because we're going to reset the timer to either 25 or 5 minutes. Then in handle click function, if it's not running, then if it starts running, then we want it to be either the break GIF or the work GIF. And the other thing is to just reset it to idle. Now it works. Great job. The very last thing we have is the start button. So we're gonna have our image imported, and also we want them to switch depending on whether we want to do start or reset. So we're gonna have a constant again. Initially we just want it to be the play image. The same thing from before, we're gonna handle it in the handle click. So if it's not running and we want it to run, we switch it to reset. And then the other one is to just set it as play image. Now it works. Amazing. Now let's add the meow audio, and we'll have to create a new audio using the meow sound. What we now have to do is create a use effect so that when the timer ends, then the sound rings. And we reset the play button and we reset the idle GIF when the sound rang. Nice. Now I'm just switching everything from 25 to 1 so we can test it out and see if the sound is there. There we go. Time to play and run the app. Now we're gonna run, and this is what we have now. What we don't want is that bar on the top and the circles. So we're going to go back to Electron.js file. We're gonna change the height so that it's a square. Then we're gonna set the frame to false and the title bar style to be hidden. Also, we're gonna add more lines here that says main window button visibility to be false. And then the menu bar visibility to be false as well. The button is for the 3 dots, and this is for the menu bar, like the file, edit, and stuff. Okay. Now we don't have that. And the very last thing is we want the close button to work. And we have to use the IPC main from Electron to connect React and Electron. There's a bunch of things we have to do, but the very first thing is to listen for the close app event. And we're gonna specify that later. So for now, if we hear close app, then we're gonna quit the app. Then we're gonna create the preload.js so that the close app is preloaded before the Electron app runs. And we'll have to use Electron API in the React. So we have to make it a global terminology that Electron API is a thing. We go back to the app.tsx, and in this close button area, we'll have to create a function that says handle close click. And this is the function. It's basically just close the app when it, yeah. Now we build it again, and we run Electron. Click close. There we go. All we have left now is to build the app. But before that, I just wanted to add an icon for app. So we're going to do that in package.json file. Then we're gonna build our product and build our app. npm run build. And after that, we're gonna run the npx npx electron builder. This is gonna take a couple of minutes, and after that we're gonna have this dist file, and if we go to Mac OS, we're gonna have it right there. And we open in Finder, and this I just dragged it onto the desktop, and there we go. Our app with our little icon ready to be shared and distributed to whoever you love. Yay! Made it to the end of the tutorial. Amazing work. If you find this video helpful in any way, please feel free to leave a like and subscribe, and I hope to see you again in the next video. Bye for now.